come from this homework number 10. All right, so here's homework number 10. All right, we've only got a few minutes here, 6 minutes, but let's do at least one of these problems, or, well, one of these parts, I guess. So find the GCD and the LCM for each of the following groups of numbers using the intersection of sets method. Okay, yeah. So, all right, so we want to get really comfortable with GCD and LCM, what they really are. So, first off, what even are they? Let's start with simpler numbers. What is the GCF or GCD? Same thing. This just means greatest common factor, greatest common. Remember, factor and divisor are synonymous, so those are the same thing. So remember doing GCFs from algebra days? So if somebody gave you, I don't know, 4 and 6, what's the greatest number that goes into 4 and 6? 2, right? So what if I made it a little bigger? What if I made it 8 and 12? Let's do that. That'd be better. So what's the G for 8 and 12? What's the biggest number that goes evenly into 8 and 12? 4. The GCF is 4. Now other numbers go in, like 2 goes into both those numbers, huh? But the greatest number that goes into them both, in common as a factor, is 4. Okay, so that's GCF. Now, let's also take the 8 and the 12 and talk about LCM. LCM is the same as LCD. You know, from your algebra days again. Remember common denominators? LCD, least common denominator. LCM, least common multiple. It's the same thing. Same thing. So that's, what would be the, like what if you had a fraction 1/8 and 1/12, you're trying to add them, you know, and you had to get a common denominator. What would be the common denominator? Yeah, 24. Good work. The not GCD, the LCM or LCD would be 24. Because that's the lowest number that 8 and 12 both go evenly into. Does that make sense? 8 goes in there 3 times. Right, 12 goes in there 2 times. Now there's other common multiples like 48. They both go into 48, don't they? 8 and 12 both go into 48. But the lowest number that they go into is 24. That's good. This making sense on that? Now, I didn't really give you a method. I was just top of my head. I'm going to give you methods. But I just want to first off say that's what we're talking about. We're talking for GCF, we're talking about a tiny number that goes into both of them. And for LCM, we're talking about a number bigger than both of them that they go into. That's the idea. Okay, so now how do we do it? We're going to actually do it with 2 different methods. Not both today, for sure, but Friday will be the other one. Today, with intersection of sets method. So how do we find those things with the intersection of sets method? Well, let me get a fresh screen. And what I'm going to do then, they're giving me 45 and 75. So I want to take the 45 and I want to take the 75 and I want to list, using the intersection of sets, I want to list all the tiny numbers that go into them. So in other words, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 45 over on the side of my paper like we just did. Going to have to do that stuff we just did. Square root it. What's square root of 45? 6 something, right? 6, blah, blah, blah. So 6 is the limit, right? Yeah, 6. So in other words, 1 times 45. 2 doesn't go in. 3 times 15. 4 doesn't go in. 5 times 9. And that's it. So those are all the numbers that go into 45. Let me list them. 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, 45. So those are all the divisors or factors, all the numbers that go into 45, right? Now let's do the same thing for the 75. So what's the square root of 75? Somebody have that in their calculator? 8 something, right? 8 point. Yeah, so just, I mean, 8's our limit. Right? That always tells us our limit, right? So 1, 2 doesn't go in. 3, just use your calculator for all this. 3 times 4 doesn't go in. 5 times 15. 6 doesn't go in. 7 doesn't go in. 8's my limit, so that's it. It must be all of them. See how I'm finding that? So 1, 3, 5, 15, 25, 75. 15, 25, 75. So these are all factors or divisors. Our last minute here, let's answer the question, what is the greatest of all the common factors? So what factors do they have in common? 1, 3, 5, and 15. They both have 1, 3, 5, and 15. 1, 3, 5, and 15 go into both numbers, huh? So what's the greatest among their common factors? 15. That's the GCF. And I did it by listing sets. You know, set is just a collection, right? I just listed all the things and took the biggest one. Greatest common factor. All right. That's all the time we have.